This film study will attempt to take an in-depth look at Lions rookie right guard Tate Ratledge, their second-round pick out of Georgia that started every game, and I think shows a high level of competitiveness, talent, not just athletic ability and strength, but to me, the most important factor that I think the film displays for him, particularly last week, the last game that the Lions played, I should say, against the Bucs, is the ability to get up off the floor and respond after a loss. I think I've got 13 plays queued up here for you guys. Generally, from week 3, the Lions win against the Ravens, and then week 7, their win at home against the Bucs. Here lately, I've been trying to focus on the film as early as possible in the videos and then give summary thoughts at the end. So I'll generally have him spot shadowed in yellow, like you see here, but you know where he is. He's the right guard. A really nice job, if you ask me, of him and Graham Glasgow working together. Basically a bump combo where the center is able to work up quickly to the linebacker level, really giving the inside linebacker for the Ravens no good option. We're talking about Teddy Buchanan here, trying to approach Montgomery because Ratledge was able to reach the defensive tackle, John Jenkins, so quickly. You have the same dynamic existing on the other side. It's really eerie to watch sometimes Mahogany and Ratledge's steps. They're very much in sync. They almost look like a mirror image of each other. Since the guards win so quickly, Glasgow's able to move up to the inside linebacker level. This is one of those situations in that win for the Lions where you had just a complete mismatch in terms of execution. Look what happened in terms of Mahogany closing off Brent Urban, and then Ratledge getting rid of or reaching John Jenkins, before he got discarded. But nonetheless, Montgomery is able to cut it back for a huge gain. I'm only going to focus on the end zone angle for most of these. Like I said, he'll be spot shadowed in yellow at the beginning of each play. This is pretty much the three plays I'll show you here against the Ravens all came on the third drive where the Lions really took control and took a 14-7 lead. Maryland I. So first part of this, you're going to get a kick by Brock Wright on the edge defender, David Ojabo. And then Ratledge is working down on Travis Jones, and the right tackle Sewell is going to work up to the linebacker level. You can see the wall that's really built here for Montgomery. We're talking about all of these defenders, Glasgow, Ratledge, Sewell. They've really caved in that side of the Ravens' defensive line and given Montgomery a quite easy read to run off of or stay tight to that wall. Couple of requests to kind of slow-mo things, and so I'll try to do that either at the beginning or the end of each play. These two guys end up working together. Same play concept, by the way. Same actual play. My apologies. Ratledge and Glasgow working on the nose tackle. Travis Jones, who's a really underrated and good football player, if you ask me, helps create that wall along with Sewell. Final play from that Ravens game. Again, this is the third drive. I think it ended up 14 or 15 plays. He's going to combo here with Sewell on the right-hand side and then move up to the linebacker level. It's the Ravens rookie inside linebacker, Teddy Buchanan. Now, from a technique standpoint and what Ratledge gets done, he's perfect. Sometimes he'll get to a side. In this case, the one thing that I think is super impressive about this play is not just the combo with Sewell, but as he combos, you can see that his foot is actually kind of trapped by the defensive tackle for the Ravens. And real quickly, smoothly, he's just able to step over it. The athleticism, I think, there, is displayed. What he showed at the Combine and what he showed in his 4 years at Georgia. He's created this seam for Montgomery to run through, so he's trying to take Buchanan that way. I do wonder if Ratledge is worried about possibly getting called for a hold, and that's why Buchanan is able to escape and somewhat get involved in the tackle. So we're talking about the angle that he creates by first stepping out to the defensive tackle. Buchanan stepped in this direction and then will fold back over here to try to meet the path of the running back, Montgomery. And then Ratledge steps over the defensive tackle's leg, walls off Buchanan to create that seam for Montgomery. The strength issue is, I won't say it's a weakness, but relative to all of his other skills, quickness, agility, understanding, awareness, and then the ability to respond after a loss, relative to all those other things, the strength would be his weakness for, in my opinion, situations like that where you have a guy sealed off, you have an angle, and he's able to peel back or fold off of your block and still get involved in the play. but super job, if you ask me, getting up to the linebacker level so quickly after the initial combo. We'll move to Week 7 film against the Bucs. Generally going to focus on first half stuff here. The possession number will be illustrated there by brackets, down and distance thereafter. So pass rep here, I believe that's Vita Vea that he's dealing with. Sewell is going to kind of jump the defensive end / OLB out here. I think that's Hassan Reddick. So the awareness that I talked about a couple of times here, basically he's going to be able to help out with Sewell because he knows the center is stepping to him. And then when the nose tackles, help out with Vea because the center is stepping to him. Once he helps out with Vea, then he looks for work to the outside. He picks up the blitzing inside linebacker. I'm not sure who that player is, to be honest with you. It's number 45. This is the quick swing pass on the first possession out to Jahmyr Gibbs. I just like the awareness that he shows. I actually talked about this exact same concept with the Ravens offensive linemen in a couple of videos recently. You know, all offensive linemen want to do that. They want to get 2 blocks for 1, right? Awareness, agility, to be able to do that. You just can't peel off that blocker too soon, such that he ends up beating, in this case, your center. But getting the ball out quickly to your athletes gives them the option or increases the likelihood that they can make people miss after the play or after the catch. Another run concept combo, in fact, that really follows right alongside the play that I showed against the Ravens. So lined up here at right guard, first possession on a 2nd and 10 against the Bucs. Incredible job here by Penei Sewell. The steps are unbelievably fast. But and I'm not sure if this, the drawing of this really does a good job, but basically he's stepping, Ratledge is stepping to the defensive tackle, and then he's going to seal off or wall off the inside linebacker, very similar to what he was trying to do against the Ravens. Basically take this inside linebacker in this direction. Gibbs doesn't take that lane that develops. I have no idea why, but there is an unblocked safety behind Ratledge's block. It's Tyke Smith, their leading tackler, who could obviously match Gibbs' path if Gibbs was able to get down that running lane. The point in showing this is Ratledge's ability to combo to his right and then immediately work to his left and take over, adjust to a linebacker. It ends up being a short gain for Gibbs, to be honest with you. Tyke Smith played a fantastic game. Like I said, he's their leading tackler on the year. Really underrated, and in fact, I underrated him leading up to that game. This is the culmination of that first drive, the touchdown pass to St. Brown to put Detroit up 7-0. So you're going to get a switch here, and I think the awareness and the ability to adjust shows up on this play or manifest. It's a stunt, basically TE stunt, the tackle first. The defensive tackle, I think that's Hall, but I could be wrong. Some of the Bucs uniforms, it looks like that's actually 98. The 8s and 0s were really difficult to pick up. But that defensive tackle is barging into Sewell and then trying to work through that gap while the defensive end stunts back across underneath. Ratledge picks it up perfectly. Doesn't overextend. And then he's able to get back to that stunting defensive end, folding underneath, creates a clear path for Jared Goff to throw the football. And St. Brown gets the first touchdown of the night. Again, just going to focus on the end zone angle. We've now moved on to the second possession. Detroit is up 7-0. So he's helping Sewell after a moment because Sewell is going to look for work out to the right. And I think the Bucs are a super prepared defense. The more that I've watched this game, the more I just marvel at their ability to be in, I don't know if I want to say the right call, but try to take advantage of the Lions' offense in certain situations. So this is Hassan Reddick, who you would expect to rush the passer. Over on the other side is Diaby. So rather than mess around with Penei Sewell and try to beat him one-on-one, they've just dropped Reddick out in this situation, and they're essentially wasting Sewell from a pass pro standpoint numerically. He ends up helping out Ratledge on the play as the outside linebacker drops out. I just think it's a very intelligent Bucs defense, and what ended up happening was, in my opinion, because of the 2-for-1 created here, basically Detroit allocated the right guard and the right tackle for one pass rusher, the D tackle. You've got a 2-on-2 here, and they win and get pressure off the left side. It doesn't really have anything to do with Tate Ratledge or Penei Sewell, other than the fact that they're occupied with one player. And in a four-man rush situation, the Bucks are able to get pressure, from the opposite of Penei Sewell. It still doesn't matter because it goes down as a big play for Amon-Ra St. Brown. I'm just trying to illustrate to you how prepared I think the Bucks defense actually was. I covered it, in the reaction video after the game. In addition, in film study videos thereafter the next 2 or 3 days. And the more that I've watched that game thereafter, as I said, the more impressed I am by their defense. I think you get another example here of Ratledge's ability to adjust during the play, again, on that same second possession. So it's an F counter concept, basically. He's going to pull and try to kick out the edge defender, or excuse me, that's what should occur here. But the edge defender steps down, basically wrong arm spill, and so Ratledge will log him. And what that means is he'll flip to the outside, and Laporta's going to go in check motion, and then oftentimes he would see or recognize the log block and then loop around to the outside. You see what I mean here? That's Diaby that Ratledge has hooked, logged, whatever phrase you want to use to describe it. He's just reading it. He's seeing Diaby step down, and you should have the opportunity, in my opinion, to get a nice run play here, either through that seam between these two guys or bouncing it to the outside. The problem is the backside safety, again, Tate Smith, he's got 66 tackles on the year, 8 PDs, 4 TFLs. He's involved from the backside. Really, St. Brown has no angle to go get the guy. I'll pull this back so you can see what I'm talking about. Here is Tate Smith. I think Ratledge is doing a nice job here logging Diaby on the front side, but there's really no opportunity for St. Brown to be able to get to Tate Smith. He's out-leveraged, number one. And since Sewell is dealing with this D-tackle, and I think Brock Wright is dealing with Haason Reddick, then that leaves St. Brown to try to deal with the safety, Tate Smith. He just can't get to him, tracks it down from behind, really disrupts the whole daggone thing. Ratledge, really nice job sealing it off again on what, I would refer to as a log block. Still in that second possession, we know what this is going to turn out to be. This is awareness within the scheme for Ratledge, but we know that this ends up being a forced fumble and unfortunate turnover for the Lions. So what I mean when I say awareness within the scheme, he's going to initially go to block Vea, and then Sewell is dealing with the edge defender, Haason Reddick. Vita Vea steps to the inside, so moves to the inside, and Ratledge knows that he's got help with Glasgow stepping to his side. So as a result of that, Ratledge quickly recognizes, okay, Glasgow's going to take him over. There's trust. Those guys work together, every day throughout camp. And so he's going to look for work out here with Haason Reddick. Goff is trying to fire the ball out into the right flats. That's not where St. Brown is. With this inside linebacker looking off screen to our left, you can pretty much tell that's where St. Brown is. If you guys watched my videos after the win over the Bucks, you remember that I talked about that kind of ad nauseum, those inside linebackers either A, chasing St. Brown, or B, at least orienting themselves to deal with an in-breaking route. And in this case, because there's a bull rush on Sewell, and because Ratledge kind of influences Reddick to get KO'd or knocked down, that pushes Goff back this way into the pocket. So Decker's loss, while it is a legitimate loss, actually looks a little bit worse because Goff gets pushed or funneled back to him. Hopefully I said that in a way that makes sense. I think the high-level awareness that Ratledge displays in 99% of situations is going to be a net positive. If the bull rush didn't move Sewell back a little bit further than we would expect, dislodging him a little bit, you can see with his steps, and then the combination of that and Ratledge KOing Reddick and knocking him to the ground kind of led Goff, or fed Goff, I should say, into Diaby, who had just defeated Decker. Again, I give a supreme amount of credit to the Bucks defense. They are one of the teams in the NFL that is allowing what I refer to as the least amount of offensive efficiency. You guys probably don't know because not many people watch the video. And first of all, and second of all, you really kind of have to be in my Lions Discord to get weekly updates on this. But the TOR metric that myself and some other people have been involved in creating is an offensive efficiency rating, and the Bucks have, I believe, the third lowest TOR metric allowed per game. It's 43. It's a 0 to 100 score. The best two teams in the league from a TOR allowed standpoint is the Seattle Seahawks and the Houston Texans. Third possession, after that turnover, again, he's at right guard. And so you're really talking about a down concept here with Gibbs stepping to his right. It's a run play, by the way. The center is going to step to the defensive tackle, who's huge. I'm not exactly sure who that is. I think Ratledge is expecting some type of combo here, and it doesn't occur. Why not? Because the inside linebacker, Lavonte David, is stepping up, and so Glasgow, rightly, moves up to that level. Glasgow doesn't want to leave this backside A-gap unprotected for a run-through, so he peels off of that combo. As a result, it really ends up being a one-on-one situation for Ratledge and a massive, incredibly strong D-tackle whose name escapes me at this point in time. My point in kind of explaining this is that Ratledge has the skills. He's got everything you need in the toolbox. The only thing is there's certain defensive tackles that I think at some point, 2.5, 2.7 seconds into the play, they're going to be able to shed you because, they're just that talented. Fortunately, you've got incredible talent in Jahmyr Gibbs, right? Skipping through there for a 10-yard gain. At this point in time, again, to reiterate what I talked about earlier, what I see on film is that, we just don't have overwhelming strength. We've got good strength, but not great yet. That'll probably come, later in his rookie year or into year number 2. Still on that third possession, like I said, that was a productive play. It was a 10-yard run by Jahmyr Gibbs. So between Glasgow and Ratledge, they handled it well up the middle. So it's a short toss to Gibbs. There's really not much opportunity to get this short toss and then cut it back in this direction. It's kind of designed to attack your defense quickly, at this type of angle. Perhaps you get a cutback, or a bouncing to the outside. It's a really tough ask for Ratledge. He's just essentially trying to reach Vita Vea here on the play away from him. The alignment helps out Vita Vea, and then also his just sheer strength. I'll run it back, multiple times. Ratledge actually does get his head in front briefly, but he just can't hold the leverage. I mean, who can against that guy in a one-on-one situation? It ends up being a tackle for loss. What I do like about Tate Ratledge, besides the athletic abilities, the physical traits, the experience, all of those things, is that he's got the ability to respond. And that's what I talked about in the lead into this video. Again, just focusing on the first half of the Bucs game. This is their next possession. And this is, of course, the 78-yard touchdown run by Jahmyr Gibbs. It's not against Vita Vea, mind you, but it's a sick combo between him and Penei Sewell. Normally on these same side runs, they'll hit like in the C gap, especially when you have an insert block like the Lions have here. I think it's Khalif Raymond. So as Laporta steps to the defensive end, this is Raymond's helmet here. He's going to insert into this gap and try to lead up to the second-level defender. In this case, it's Tyke Smith. But that's not where the play goes. This is a little bit unique, in my opinion, in that the run concept on a same-side run doesn't generally split a combo. I think it's just because these two guys do such a great job of it here. Ratledge stepping to the defensive tackle and then moving up to, oh, by the way, that's a Hall of Fame player right there. He may not actually make the Hall of Fame. I don't know. But Lavonte David has had as good a career as it gets from a longevity standpoint and then persistent ability to impact the game. I think he played against the Lions somewhat compromised from an injury standpoint. I love this play from a Ratledge standpoint. He has closed Lavonte David off. He ID'd it very quickly with the combo along with Sewell. He ID'd it extremely quickly, closed the guy off. Keep in mind, the previous possession is when Vita Vea defeated him in a one-on-one. My point in bringing that up and omitting the plays that separate that is I think Tate Ratledge is a superstar player from the standpoint of his ability to deal with talent on a snap-by-snap basis. Probably related to the fact that he played in the SEC and so many monsters that were, lining up against him on a weekly basis. He had the critical block, him and Penei Sewell, obviously, on this play. Other guys did it as well. They take a 14-0 lead here. I think that's worth mentioning again or worth trying to highlight again. So I'll do so here and talk about pass pro. Fortunately for me, both of these plays occur on the 6th possession, and they're against the same defensive tackle. I think it's number 95. Again, we're highlighting or talking about Tate Ratledge's ability to respond after a loss. So the only option here on this quick pressure by 95 for Goff is to get the ball down to David Montgomery. I'll run it through a couple of times and then go slow motion for you. I think both of these guys miss with their initial punch, meaning Ratledge and 95. Ratledge is opening his hands up, and just notice the difference there for this one and then the next play that I show you. So he's opening his hands up, kind of widening his hands up, trying to get to the outside. 95, my guess or my suspicion is his left arm must have slapped or chopped down on Ratledge's outside arm, and that's what helped him clear so quickly. So, obviously a quick loss for Tate Ratledge. We haven't seen a ton of those in 2025, his rookie year. I'm not belaboring this point to make him look bad. I'm doing it to set up the very next play. Short completion from Goff after, like I said, his options were limited on the quick loss by Ratledge. All the attributes that he's got, right? The RAS score was incredible. I think 999, or maybe it was a 10. Speed, athleticism, experience, right, from playing in the SEC. This, to me, might be his best trait. Fight back against talent that is equivalent to you, or maybe even in some cases superior. Watch his hands. He does widen them somewhat, but not nearly as much as he did on the previous play. And hopefully the running it back and forth multiple times can illustrate it better than I'm able to explain it. Basically, he didn't make himself as vulnerable right here by widening the elbow and the hands up as much as he did on the previous snap. It's the very next play, okay? So some players, some teams can adjust at halftime, or maybe they adjust the next week if they had trouble with something. Here, to me, I think we have an example of a guy, a rookie, not opening his arms as wide, staying tighter, being more patient on the very next snap. I think that's remarkable. I think it's worth mentioning and highlighting, and that's why I led with that at the beginning of this video. I try to hold my summary judgments now till later on in videos. It seems to help people watch longer. I don't know if you're the type of person that enjoys watching 20, 25-minute videos. Some people are not, so it's probably an acquired taste. I felt like I had to build up to that point. Ratledge is a great fit. That's obvious. He's very mobile, smart, experienced, versatile. I haven't talked about that. He's got the ability to play in zone schemes or gap schemes. He adjusts not just from week to week or half to half, from snap to snap. And during the play, two of the combo blocks I showed you, one against the Ravens and one against the Bucs, he steps out to the D tackle. We were fortunate to be right behind the offense at both of the ones that I showed you. He steps out to the defensive tackle with Sewell and then ends up veering to pin the inside linebacker on the opposite side, so moving right to left, almost like the shape of like maybe a letter V, okay? I drew it a few times here in this video. In any case, I expect he'll be stronger next year, bigger, maybe heavier, but he's already got all the skills, the attributes, the intelligence, and then most important, like I said, the last few plays that I talked about, or the last four, I guess, in combination, heart and ability to adjust from one play to the next. Like I said, I think the SEC background, four-year starter, I believe, helps with that. You're going to have losses. And then you got to adjust to those. You got to react to them and stand up, get up off the deck. Now the Lions are benefiting. They're benefiting from that process that he went through. So I was really jealous on draft night. Well, night two, when the Lions moved up to take him 3 spots. Jumping the Ravens. I don't know the reasoning. I suspect, I think that the Ravens were 59 and Detroit was 60. So we're one spot ahead. I have no idea the information that Brad Holmes had, right, that forced him to trade up. On draft night, for me, watching, maybe it was draft afternoon. I could be misremembering. But look, if you don't know, the Ravens have a terrible right guard, Daniel Falele. And then at that point in time on draft night, who the heck knows who our left guard's going to be. So for me, when he's available, I'm like, oh, let's take him. Well, the Lions had traded up. Boom, done. Brad Holmes' mentality is you see a player that you want, go get him. I love it, to be honest with you. That it's preferable to me to go get the guys you want compared to sitting and picking, which is what the Ravens have always done, right? Just let the draft board fall to them. I think Ratledge, you're not going to win at all of those situations, right, when you trade up to get guys. But for me, Ratledge looks like an absolute win. for Detroit, for their coaching staff, the fans, and the front office for justifying their process or their approach to the draft. They actually took another SEC guard. You guys all know that, Miles Frazier. Later on, he hasn't played. But to me, that just illustrates that they had a serious commitment to the interior offensive line to, for now, safeguard the floor, protect the floor of this offense in 2025. I nonetheless love his development through 7 games. The exposure he's getting to some of the talent level that they're facing, I personally would put the Bucs defense in higher regard than some of their statistics do. Okay, I recognize that the Seahawks annihilated them, but if you look at the Bucs defense and their TOR metric from a game by game basis, the only team that's actually reached what you would consider to be a high % win probability from a TOR metric standpoint against them is the Seattle Seahawks. The Seahawks were able to score 35 points at home in a 38-35 loss. Detroit's defense put up an unbelievable effort in beating Tampa Bay. Both teams, a little bit shorthanded. I think that the Bucs defense over the course of a 17-game season is going to prove itself to be one of the better 5 to 7 defenses in the league. In any case, you guys may disagree on that point, but you can certainly agree that Brad Holmes and the front office made the right choice to take this guy in the second round, and then also made a secondary proper choice or proper path in playing him at right guard and moving Glasgow to center. Both of those guys look really comfortable. Their ability to combo up to the next level, I think, is as good as it gets for the offensive lines that I get to watch from a zone standpoint and duo stuff. I had fun producing this video. Hopefully you can tell, because the end zone angle, just using the end zone angle makes it really easy and quick to get these done. In any case, first of all, I appreciate you guys checking this video out. Second of all, I have to thank anyone and everyone who watched the Jack Campbell video that I put out last night. I will be direct. When a content creator like myself sees a video perform so well, and so many comments, it absolutely influences and encourages us to push out another one. Hence why I was able to get the Tate Ratledge video done so quickly, less than 24 hours later. So thank you guys for helping in that process and pushing me in that direction, at least this time. Appreciate you guys' time, man. If you think other Lions fans would enjoy this film study look at the rookie right guard for the Lions, who I think is playing really well, Tate Ratledge, then please consider grabbing a link to this video, sharing it out on social media to help this content get more reach.